What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the Ducati build series. Today we're gonna install everything you see here on this workbench. It's gonna be a long video. I'm gonna try to capture everything, and basically when I upload this I'll have chapters so you guys can jump and skip to the install that you're most interested in seeing. But today we're going to have some master cylinders installed. These are the Cortas with the Motocorse reservoirs installed. Check out my last video where I installed these. I've got the rear master pressure switch for the clutch, or pressure sensor, however you want to call that. I got the front fairing stay, the dash, three-piece dash. The OEM is one single piece plastic, but since the carbon fiber a little bit stiffer than the plastic, I think that's why they break it up in three pieces. Then we got the rear undertail, the Motocorse wire cover. This is going to replace the OEM bracket that has the reservoir mount. So when we install this rear master, has the reservoir built in, we no longer need that bracket to hold the reservoir. So this is going to be the new wire cover, or the brake line cover. And the JetPrime switch housing, we'll get that installed. But first things first, let me get you guys set up. We'll get positioned in front of the bike. We'll start tearing apart the front fairing, or the front cowl, and we'll expose a lot of these parts. That way I can pull off the fairing stay, yank the dash, and then while everything's out, that's when I'll work on these master cylinders. So one install will kind of lead into the other, and we'll get the JetPrime switch housing at that moment as well, and have at it. So let me get you guys set up. Hold tight. Alright guys, so we got a lot to remove. Obviously we need to expose and get down to the fairing stay. You guys can see inside the OEM magnesium fairing stay. My camera will focus. We've got the master cylinders to remove. Brakes, everything needs to come off. So gonna try to take off as little as possible, but at the same time taking off enough to make it easy for the install. So let me get you guys mounted and I'll start pulling things off. Hold tight. All right, guys. So as you can see, we removed the OEM magnesium fairing stay, and I've got the carbon fiber Fullsix fairing stay that I got from Moto Million in gloss finish. Just kind of wiping down some fingerprints, because once it's installed, it's gonna be a little hard to access some of these little nooks and crannies. So not too difficult to pull off. Few bolts. I thought I was gonna have to remove the upper clamp. I was able to manage, there's one of my lost bits. I was able to manage maneuvering the stock one off. So the carbon fiber, very rigid, not a lot of play in these parts, so be a little interesting to see how this bolts back on. So you've got 2 bolts up top, you can see that, and you got the 2 side bolts, one on the left side, one on the right side. That attaches the fairing stay to the neck of the bike, and then you've got the mounts for your dash. So the dash will slide right here. I'm going to mount the dash, basically do everything in reverse. So I'm going to go ahead and mount the wiring bracket, which is here. It's going to mount onto this little arm right here and clamp on. So kind of do things in reverse. So I'm going to put you guys back on the hyperlapse video, but for the most part, it's plug and play. What bolt you take off, you just put right back on in the reverse order. So hold tight, here we go. Alright guys, so we got the front fairing stay in position. I've got the wiring harness, the dash installed. But before we mount and secure it to the headlight assembly, we need to install our 3-piece dash setup. And you need to make sure before you secure these to the grommets that you hook these around and get them into position before you get everything bolted down, because you will need to unbolt everything because there is no play. These do not flex like the plastic ones do, and you will not be able to bend these around and get these snapped into place without damaging or cracking them. So it's real easy. You just basically get and hook this lower half around. Let's see if I can get you in a better position with the camera. So there's some bolts down low. Let's see if I can get this all in the frame. So you need to hook this around. Just like that. So we got the bolt back here and that bolt there, and these will fasten just like that. So let's get those buttoned up. Hold tight. Got the front fairing stay on, the new one. So the old one came off, the new one went on. The new dash also installed. And that's about as far as we've gotten. So next I'm gonna start working on the throttle housing and the master cylinder. So right now I have not reinstalled the steering damper, which is just the one bolt there. I wanted to give you guys a quick peek at the fairing stay. So take a look at this. Everything just lines up perfectly. Fullsix does a great job. Obviously, keeping all the parts consistent. You know, don't buy Fullsix, you know, fairing stay in a different brand, dash. That'll help keep things in line, but for the most part, everything has gone together quite well so far. Let me get you on this side. So I kind of temporarily routed my Rizoma blinkers. They're gonna mount right there, so I've routed my wires a little better this time around, now that I had everything pulled off. So I'll come back here and I'll zip tie some of the excess line. But take a look at that fairing stay. So give you guys a quick look at the OEM. So the OEM minus these little blacked out, it's basically a vinyl wrap that I put on these just so the magnesium wasn't showing through the windshield. I never liked it, so when I was redoing everything, I installed these. So it actually didn't look quite bad. Quite a bit of weight savings there. I will be posting this item for sale, so anybody interested, search eBay. That's where I'm going to post it. All right. All right, guys, sorry, I apologize. I thought I was recording when I was starting to take off the assembly here. But just to note a few key points, you're gonna need a T7 bit, and that's gonna back this screw out. You wanna be careful once you take this screw out. It releases 1/2 of the assembly, and you want to be careful. So when it's on the handlebar, you want to pull that off. The button's going to come off down low, and before you can actually pull this off, you got to disconnect the wiring harness that mounts into the side of this control. So disconnect the cable, and it's just a few little tugs backwards that'll pull that out of the assembly. Take out your T7 screw, and then before you can remove this off of the handlebar, this is a very tricky setup here. So there's a stop with a you can see it. There's a post right here. That post is locked in to the handlebar on an indent, you're gonna need to basically pop. There's a little wedge device right here. Let's see if I can pop it out. So right here, so see how that pops out? So this is going to be on the handlebar like this. You're going to pop this wedge out, and that'll allow you to slide this out. This is actually wedged onto the handlebar, but you'll be able to slide this off. You need to take off your throttle sleeve to allow this to have room to slide off of this little wedge. And then it just clips into place. Once you slide this off, to take this assembly off the handlebar, there's another screw right there. So once this hole is exposed, when you pull this little wedge out, you'll be able to drive this through and then onto that screw, and it'll actually take off the front half of this assembly off of the inside housing. All right, and then just to kind of tuck everything back away. All right. Where did I leave off? Sorry, I had to plug my phone back in. I almost lost you with the battery. All right, so the reason we had to take all that off was to be able to slip off your throttle assembly here to disconnect this wire so we can feed the wire through the back half of this assembly. So we'll loosen up these Allen bolts, we'll slide this through, and then you do need to save the back side of your OEM throttle cover, and you're going to reuse that on the back side of your new JetPrime. All right, so before we go too much further, I'm gonna test and make sure everything is working as it should. So we installed the switch housing. Wires are ran good, clearance is good. Now to fire it up. So this is on and this is start. That's off. Won't start. Interesting, the lights turn off. Alright guys, so now I'm going to disconnect the master cylinder and basically prep the bike to install the new Corta master cylinder. Right now I'm going to detach the brake sensor. So trace the wire back. This is the connection here. So I'm basically going to disconnect this, splice the wire, and patch in the new wire into this connector. That way I can just plug it right on in to the factory harness. Alright, so here we go. All right, guys, I'm down to the last mirror on this front end. So we've got the Corta clutch and brake master cylinders installed. We bled both reservoirs, so those are all feeling great. And let's see what else we've got. The front fairing stay and the dash cover installed, and basically just reattach the front windshield and the blinkers. So right now I'm down to the last mirror, so we'll get that installed and then we'll do a quick walk around. I'll show you guys kind of how everything looks, and then we'll start on the rear reservoir. All right, so hold tight.